All right, we are back out here. So we are not picking up my car today. Bailey had some problems with his turntable that he used to weld with. I'm having a horrible beard day. So we're out here. We're gonna go ahead and keep working on Jamie's car. We gotta get the motor up on the cherry picker so that way we can get the clutch on. Once we get the clutch on, we can get this bad boy in. So the short block's ready to go. I got all the accessories that I wanna put on, and then we'll get her in there. We'll put all the pulleys on once we get everything buttoned up. So I think we can get the motor in the car today. All right, we're putting on this beautiful solid flywheel here. It's gonna be a really nice turbocharged application. I think this is a comp and really nice set. And then we have the competition clutch over there that's gonna go on as well. So we're gonna go ahead and prep this up. We gotta get it on here. We got some ARP bolts to hold around, and we'll be ready. All right, we just put our pilot bearing in. So you're gonna wanna take some type of large socket and press it in there nice and even, nice and flush, and make sure it still is nice rotation, and it does. So make sure you put your pilot bearing in before you throw this girl on. Okay, a very important step, guys. You see the oil on this flywheel, or pressure plate? Yeah, you gotta get rid of that. And the same thing goes for the flywheel. You have to brake clean all of that because this cannot get oil on it or you won't have a clutch. So keep this dry. You don't want any oil or anything getting on that. This needs to be extremely clean. So we're gonna clean this up, get this clutch on. All right, we're all in. Remember, guys, you gotta throw your throwout bearing inside there first. Okay, it goes inside the clutch, and then your plate goes on top. So we gotta put all that on there. All right, what I like to do, you got the whole clutch assembly here with the alignment. And what you can do is get the alignment guide on there like that. And that kind of holds everything. And then line your pins up. That's the wrong pin. Go to the next pin. These only go on one way, okay guys? And I think that's it right there. Yep, that would be it. We're just gonna snug them for now. These get 20 foot-pounds. All right, well, for some reason, Competition Clutch decided to only send 6 bolts, but I got 9. So we're gonna use the old guys, I guess. Don't really have an option. Which these are only torqued to 20 foot-pounds, so it's not like you get like really fatigued. These are literally just holding the pressure plate to the flywheel. So we're going to take all these off. I think they actually have a tool that you can use. All right, we are in, and as you can see, we're nice and center, and that's from our alignment. Your throwout bearing should be loose. It should not be binding, and everything is on. So we got our clutch on. We're ready to throw this girl. All right, we are in. Trans is bolted. You can see how low it's sitting. So I lower everything way down to get the trans bolted up. It's just easier to get the clutch lined up and everything. And then once that's all bolted up, I'm going to raise this all back up. I'm gonna get the motor mounts on and then sit this guy down on the motor mounts. And then we will have a engine back in the car. All right, we got the head all cleaned up with alcohol. We got our new OEM head gasket on. All we gotta do is Honda bond the end there. I got everything hooked up down here. Got a couple accessories hooked up over here. We'll probably hold off on the alternator, or I might throw it on here before we start the head. It is a little easier without the intake. Maybe hook up the starter and stuff too, but we got most of that stuff on the right side done, so we are very close to throwing the head back on. All right, we cleaned our studs up. They're all clean now. They're pretty nasty. We're about to throw this girl on. We're gonna get our ARP lube ready to go and then throw it in. All right, when I talk about the Honda Bond, this is what I'm talking about. You guys have the Honda Bond, the outside of this chain guard area, for some reason, it doesn't seal up real well around there. So a little bit of Honda Bond and she seals up much better so you don't got a leaky front cover here. All right, we are getting somewhere. Head is on, torqued down. Now it's all about getting everything hooked up. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and connect the drive shaft. I wanna show you guys something real quick. This is the factory bolt. As you can see, I almost didn't get it out. Luckily, I had some of the easy out grit stuff and I was able to pull that out. But these Allen heads suck. What you guys need to get are these guys right here. Part number 12 point. These are so much better than dealing with those. These are a nice piece to add to your, if you guys are factory drive shaft still, grab these. All right, so I take care of my customers. I like to take everything apart. I like to double check everything. I cleaned up all the holders here. They're all brake cleaned, a lot of dirt. Take the bars out, make sure the bars look good. And I'm also making sure that all the rollers are good. All the pins are looking okay. And that our actual stem, valve, whatever you want to call this, hammer guy, these can get very beat up. So you want to make sure that those are also good. So maybe you can call it overkill, or maybe you can just call it good practice, but I make sure that everything looks good. The worst thing to do is to put a motor back together and not cross your T's, dot your I's, and make sure everything looks good. I mean, say I just throw this valve train in that was a blown up motor, and then it's running okay, but I don't got no VTEC. And then come to find out there's a broken pin or there's a broken rocker or something like that. So I like to take care apart everything, especially on a motor that I haven't been in yet, so I don't know who built this, where it came from, et cetera, et cetera. So I like to go through everything. Takes an extra couple minutes to clean and look at everything, but I like to be thorough. So it's key, guys. You gotta make sure your stuff looks good. You gotta make sure everything is working properly, and that will get you away from bigger problems in the big end. All right, we're just rolling along here, guys. Got the cams in, caps are on, torque down. We're gonna rotate it a couple times. Make sure it sounds good. Nice and stiff. Let me take you guys back out here. Here we go. Oh yeah. Feeling good. All right, we're gonna put some lubrication on those cams and rockers, so that way on startup, we got some decent oil up there. Back out in the garage, day 3 of this weekend. Been working on this car nonstop. A couple more things to put together here. Got to get all the wiring situated. Got to tighten up the crank pulley, get the turbo kit on, get the cold side on. Got to put the shifter back in the car. Get all the exhaust routed back up, wastegates, etc. And we'll be back and rolling, rocking and rolling here. Obviously got to put some fluids, and we'll have our first startup. So I don't think we'll have any problems seeing RPM today. If everything goes well, I think we'll be good. So I'm gonna get out of here and get started. Guys, we are really close. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the charge pipe on real quick and get some coolant and oil. Make sure we don't have any static leaks, meaning like nothing's leaking when it's not running. And then we're gonna be jumping in and throwing the battery in and getting some oil pressure. So we'll take all the spark plugs out. We'll crank it over by hand first, make sure everything sounds good, which we already did, but we'll do it again. And then after that, we will be cranking with no fuel just to get some oil pressure. He does not have an oil pressure sensor gauge, so I'm gonna have to go by listening. And typically whenever you start getting good oil pressure, the motor starts to free up and you'll hear it. It'll crank faster and faster and faster, and that's just everything getting lubricated and the assembly lubrication getting flushed out. So we're real quick. All right, we are ready for initial turnover. Got the battery hooked up. So we cranked it over by hand. Everything sounds good. Help if I get a key. All right, we're on. We are going to turn over and see how she sounds. Nice and smooth. Now as you can see, the RPM will slowly climb. We have no spark plugs in it. There it goes. Hear it? Now we got nice oil pressure. That's how you can tell if you don't have an oil pressure sensor. Oh, we are leaking. All right, we'll be back. All right, guys, it is time. We are going to crank her up, see how she is. Everything's tight. No leaks right now. Static leaks at least. Just gonna hook the laptop up and we have some data. Go from there. Now I just got to kind of get the tune somewhat dialed in for idle and stuff. We got to bleed the coolant and then be able to take her down the road. All right, so the car's running good, but I noticed our blow-off valve is not working properly, and I just tried to push it and it's pretty seized up. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it apart, lube it up, make sure it's working good, because you need a working blow-off valve. So she's all apart. I cleaned it all up. It had a lot of buildup. I did a really light grease job on all the shafts and inside of here. I did notice it has a extremely stiff spring in it, and these aren't really needed. You don't need such a stiff spring in a blow-off valve. The boost pressure keeps this valve down, so you only need like a 5 or 4 pound. This feels like it's about 10 or 15. I mean, it's pretty stiff. So if I was Jamie, I would switch this out to a little bit lighter spring, but we're gonna throw it back together and hopefully it works as it's needed. All right, guys, we are driving. I'm gonna show you guys real quick. So my GoPro is dead, so I'm not able to GoPro the break-in period, but I'll show you guys what to do. So you're giving a light throttle, get up in the RPM, and let go of the throttle, and we're staying in the same gear, right? And what this does is it puts pressure on the rings, positive and negative. So you want that DXL, and what's really good is to actually go to like a mountain or a hill and really get some good deacceleration. And then we're gonna start doing some, that was half, we're gonna start doing some full throttle pulls and letting it engine brake and DXL. You don't have to go to 9,000 RPM. We're just trying to run these rings in and get them nice, broken, and sealed. That's pretty much all we do. We keep an eye on the coolant system, and we do that a couple times. And at that point, your engine's pretty much broke in. You can also downshift and keep that DXL going. And that's pretty much it, guys. That is break-in period. Obviously, you want to be on somewhat of a decent tune. And I came out and got a decent bass tune in it. It's a little rich, not absurd rich, but you know, mid-tens. But we're only seeing about 4 or 5 pounds of boost, and that's perfect to seat these rings in. So it's running really good, and I can tell the longer I'm running it, our compression's getting better and better. The engine is responding better and better. So when you first start it up, the compression's not so good. The rings aren't sealed up yet, and the engine is just not responsive, and it's getting more and more. I mean, you'll see a responsiveness within 5 or 10 minutes of driving. It's going to start really coming around really quick. And we don't use synthetic oil. You want to use normal motor oil. You do not use synthetic to break in your rings. It's too slippery. You want the rings to grab the sleeve. You want it to bed in. That's the point of it. Synthetic is just way too slippery. Well, we were wrapping things up and we saw an oil leak. So it looks like the gasket here is leaking. We got a nice little leak in here. So we're gonna go ahead and fix that leak. I don't have any of those particular seals in stock here, so we'll just have to order that. So that'll give us time to order the brad pen oil that I didn't order yet and get that seal. Okay, big time no-no, guys. We don't put RTV or Honda Bond on drains. Big no-no. I believe we might go with a billet drain. So this is those adapter guy. I don't like these at all. It's a very small orifice. The oil has to step around. It can get blocked up. Whoever had it on before too had a bunch of RTV in there, which was making it even worse to drain. So it's just not a good drain. So I'm going to talk to Jamie, see if he agrees to getting the nice billet piece that has a nice funnel, and they drain really well, and they have a high heat O-ring on them, and they never leak. It's what I've been running on my car for like 3 or 4 years now, and I've ran the same O-ring and the same drain. I've never had it leak, so it's a really nice piece. All right, so we got our billet drain, but I do see one problem. The length is a little bit longer, about a full fitting, and his drain is pretty tight already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down, I'm going to loosen up where it connects to the top of the girdle, and hopefully we have enough slack that will reach the turbo drain. We're also going to go ahead and drain the oil and put in our brad pen, which we got in. And we'll also remove the filter, which we got to remove the centerpiece. Put a new filter on. We're going to go ahead and bust this filter open, make sure that we see the normal material in there. We don't see any other thing crazy. And we're going to take her out today and get her tuned. We're still waiting. I ordered some O-rings for our fuel. It's not leaking horrible, but it is just a slight little leak. So once we get those brass O-rings in, seal that up, hopefully that takes care of that. The only other problem I'm seeing is that it's not really idling real well at low pulse width. So I'm going to try to raise the fuel pressure up about 5 pounds, see if that helps with the idle. If it does not, I might run these injectors over to Keith's tomorrow and have him flow check them and make sure that they have a good spray pattern. They did sit for quite a while, so they could be a little gummed up. So we'll have to see what they check out as. The drain fit, guys. Really tight, but it fit. Just had enough slack. I actually had to put on the turbo first, then feed it down and connect to the drain, but she is in. We got a new drain on. We're gonna go ahead, we are draining the oil. We got our filter out. We're gonna bust that open here real quick and put some new bread. All right, we're all set to go. I went ahead and put some new rubber caps for them. They were kind of dry rotted. And then go ahead and put some zip ties because we can't have stuff blowing off. Gonna go ahead and connect the oil line, fill her up with Brad Penn, put in our NGK 8 heat range plugs, fire her up. I'm gonna go ahead and adjust the fuel pressure a little bit, see if we can get the thing to idle a little better, and take it from there. Went ahead and opened up our oil filter, and as you can see, we're looking really good. We got no problems. All we got is the black moly lube in between the pleats. As you can see, there's absolutely no material. And it actually looks very clean, which is good. There's a little bit of silicone there. Yeah, it looks real clean, which means I put together a clean motor. And all we got is the black you see is the moly lube that obviously washes out of the motor. And that'll continue to wash out over time, but we're not seeing any type of metal, which is good. It means our bearings, nothing horrible is happening. And this is broken. Sometimes you might see a little bit of filing material, and that is, well, sometimes it's just a little bit of trash in the motor from when you build it. And it can also mean it's just material from the cylinder walls. When those rings are breaking in, you're scraping metal, and that metal is gonna come out in the filter. So, but this looks very clean. I'm very happy with this. So we went ahead and put a new wick filter on. We just put our Brad Penn in. So we're gonna throw these spark plugs in and fire her up. We're gonna mess with the idle a little bit, see if we can't get it a little better. I also had some old 9s from my car in here on break-in. I didn't wanna put brand new plugs in and gum them up, so I put some old 9s in. So that also could have been why it wasn't idling that great. They were old 9s from my car, plus 9s are very cold. They were gapped extremely tight. So we're gonna put some 8s in, gapped properly for his boost levels, and hopefully we have a little bit better idle. All right, nice and quiet with the Brad Penn in there. Absolutely no leaks. Got no leaks anywhere. So we're looking good. We raised the pressure to 60 base. And we'll see if that 60 base helps out. It was almost like, it was way down to like 43 or 42 or something like that. So we're gonna run a 60 base and see if the injectors like that a little better. Well, we are back. It's running really good. We were able to make about 14, 15 pounds, and it's already busting third gear loose on that. I'm sure it's probably right around 550. We're gonna put some new O-rings on the dipstick. They're a little wore out. Obviously with a little bit more ring gap, you're gonna have a little bit more blow by. I'm definitely going to advise him at some point to go ahead and get some type of catch can and breather system, whether he welds bungs on the valve cover or does the oil filter bungs. When you start running high force induction and you start running some bigger rings to offset the power, you gotta let the motor breathe. So right now, we just have the factory breather system down and the PVC down, and I plug that stuff. But it's highly recommended to do 2-10s even in the front or on the sides or back of the oil, and some type of catch can, because these will make more crankcase pressure than a factory motor. A factory motor is very tight and a built motor is not. They're built loose on purpose so that we can handle the extra power and the extra heat. We do have some rattling going on. This style turbo kit, it's so tight, it's so hard to get the exhaust not to hit anything. You can see how tight it is down through there. So we are getting some vibrations and some rattle. You can loosen up these clamps and try to move it and go for a test drive and do that a couple times to figure out where the exhaust, but a lot of times stuff moves with heat and you're gonna end up rattling again. So I'll probably let Jamie try to work that and figure it out. Again, it's basically just trial and error, loosen the clamps and try to get to where your exhaust is not gonna rattle. It's still idling a little rich to idle clean, which is no big deal, especially on 85. I would like to see it a little bit leaner at idle. These 1650s usually idle, 12.5, 13 air to fuel ratio on a gas scale. And these guys don't want to go really beyond like 10.9, 11.0s. So I'm going to talk to Jamie, see if he is cool with me taking the injectors to Keith tomorrow, drop them off before I go to Bailey's, have him run a test. Maybe one of the injectors is pulling up and maybe that's a little bit of our idle issues. So go ahead and do that. I'll get it back. I'll probably run it again Sunday after the injectors are cleaned out and see if it runs a little better on cleaner injectors. So that's pretty much gonna wrap it up today. Again, I'm gonna tear it apart. I'll talk to Jamie, see if he wants to get those injectors clean and go from there. So I noticed, filled up with gas, and so with my car, with the fuel level sensor, it does work. But with the 85, it almost like slows it down. It's kind of weird, but it does work. But I noticed with his, I filled it up and didn't really do anything, and it's reading half a tank. And then when I was driving it, it went from like half to like completely empty in like 2 seconds. And I'm like, something's going on. So I talked to Jamie and he's like, yeah, it's been acting funny ever since I did the 450. Well, he don't got no float. There's no float. There's nothing there. So he's gonna need a whole new, and this is all busted up. So I think when they put this back in, they busted off the float. So yeah, so he's gonna need a new level system. I gotta do some research to see if we can even get this by itself. If not, you might have to buy a whole new canister. So guys, that'll do it for this video. I appreciate it. Comment, like, and subscribe if you like what you're watching, and I'll see you on the next video. See you.